Prime Minister in Silicon Valley. For you, we'll also be joined by my colleague Nidhi Razdan, who's tracking all those developments there. But for now, let's begin with what the Prime Minister has, in fact, what his schedule looks like so far. His tour of Silicon Valley is moving with breakneck speed. Shortly after reaching San Jose, he visited Tesla Motors plant to see the path-breaking inventions on renewable energy made by the makers of trend-setting electric cars. The Prime Minister was given a tour by Tesla CEO Elon Musk. He was driven around the facility in a battery-powered cart, after which he also posed for some pictures standing next to a gleaming red car manufactured by the company. Modi is the first ever Indian Prime Minister to visit Silicon Valley after it became the hub of global innovation and entrepreneurship. Well, Prime Minister Modi arrived in Silicon Valley with a focus on innovation and entrepreneurship as he became the first Indian Premier to visit the world's leading tech hub. The trip to the Valley forms part of Modi's visit to the US's West Coast, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in more than 3 decades. At the hotel lobby, the Prime Minister was warmly welcomed by Indian Americans, raising pro-Modi slogans. A series of meetings will then follow with the heads of Silicon Valley giants. My colleague Nidhi Razdan, who's tracking the Prime Minister's tour there of the West Coast, now joins us on the phone line for more. Nidhi, over to you. What has been the Prime Minister's schedule and what does it look like now from here?
Well, he got a pretty rapturous welcome from Indian Americans, as you mentioned, there here in San Jose, both at the airport and the hotel. And the first engagement the Prime Minister perhaps very aptly had was a lunch with the Indian community, but one in which he didn't make any speech. He basically there were about 750 to 800 invitees for this lunch event, and he posed for pictures and met each and every single one of them in the course of an hour. And after that, he has moved on to his first major engagement here, which was the visit to Tesla Motors, of which we've been seeing pictures there. In fact, that visit is interesting because of the famous electric cars that Tesla makes. They're very expensive and probably something a developing country would not see, but certainly perhaps it's a technology that Mr. Modi would like to study and see whether it can be emulated. After that, the next big event really is now, which is Apple CEO Tim Cook, who is going to call on him, followed by Satya Nadella of Microsoft. So all the tech giants coming to meet the Prime Minister here in San Jose before he makes a major speech on Digital India at a dinner this evening in just a few hours from now, where we are expected that he will outline what kind of expectations he has from investors here, from companies here, as he urges them to participate in the Digital India initiative, which is his pet project, and that would really be the major policy speech that he will make later today. Divya?
Right. Nidhi, you've been speaking to a lot of techies there in the Silicon Valley. What are they really expecting out of the Prime Minister's visit? Of course, there's much fanfare around his arrival, as we can see in those shots.
Well, I think as far as Silicon Valley entrepreneurs are concerned, there are a lot of expectations in the sense that they know that there might be important announcements and promises and a roadmap that's laid out on what the Prime Minister actually walks away with here. But they would like to see an environment created back home in India for Indian startups to do better. Many of these Indian startups don't survive, and they believe there are many bottlenecks back home in India which don't really give a good enabling environment for Indian startups to make it. So, for instance, whether it's tax laws, liability laws, and so on, that is processes that they really want to see change. While they believe that there's a huge potential for startups back home, and many of them are already investors in those startups, they want to see a better environment created for that, and for them to be able to do business back in India as well. For India, of course, even for the Prime Minister, he's going to be addressing an India-America startup conference tomorrow, in which the major startups from both sides will be meeting to exchange ideas. So Startup India is certainly one of the Prime Minister's new major slogans, and he would be keen to see what India can learn from Silicon Valley and the environment that's been created here that has allowed businesses to flourish, that has allowed talent to flourish, and what India can do and learn from that back home. Also, you have the big companies like Google, etc. here, Facebook, that could play a very key role in the Digital India initiative, where the Prime Minister is seeking to connect India and large parts of the country via the internet. And that is somewhere, for instance, where Google would play a very, very key role, and something that they would be interested as a big tech company. So in terms of expectation, certainly there is this expectation that the government, would try to create these enabling environments and make announcements to make the ease of doing business much easier in this area.